Hello, everybody. It's Lenny Murphy with another edition of our CEO series of interviews. And today I am joined by Dieter and Niels from Conveo. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thank you, Lenny.
You as well. Now, Niels, it is weird to say Niels from Conveo. So, well, actually, why don't we go there? Some people may be saying why. So, why don't we'll start with you, Niels. Yeah, give your quick background, and then Dieter will transition into you and talking more about kind of the latest news. So,
Yeah,
all right.
Thank you, Lenny. And yeah, some people may know me from my past at Insights Consulting, now called Human8, where we did quite some innovations already, which I thought were transformational back then, which they were back then. But looking at what's happening today, joined Conveo over the summer and having a blast, translating everything of the good of the, let's say, more traditional methods into the AI space. So good to be here.
Can't think of anybody better to do that, my friend. So
Yeah.
It's good. All right. So, Dieter.
Yeah, so I'm Dieter. Previously, I co-founded a company called datacamp.com. It's an edtech platform for data science. Grew it over about 10 years, based out of New York, London, and Belgium. And then I think about 2 years ago, I was kind of fed up doing it, the same problem for 10 years. So then, back at that time, AI was like hugely booming. So then, basically, long story short, I ran into Henrik, my other co-founder, and then, here we are now, about a year later, and also having a blast.
So for the audience, this is not our first conversation overall. I've gotten to know your team a bit over the past few months and impressed. But then we didn't really talk. And then last week you released this press release that was surprising on two fronts. One, congratulations on that round. That was certainly a significant round and a great imprimatur of legitimacy, right? When you pull that off, but as well as the product features that had changed quite a bit from the early version. So I don't want to steal your thunder. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, because it's a great springboard for the rest of the conversation.
Sure. So Conveo focuses on doing qual research at scale. So typically you have the more quant approach, very scalable, but lower in depth. Then you have obviously the qual interviews. We use AI video interviews, who are moderated by our agent, to bring the scale also to qual. And what it makes us unique is we focus on really video interviews. So we record the full conversation from beginning to end. We make sure that we record, for example, the person, but it could also be recording their environment, recording the actions they're doing. And then we make sure that we select the highlights of those videos. We have thematic analyses, and we give like a highlight reel for all those themes that we discover. So really the video feature is definitely one of our unique propositions. We launched, we were created last year, but I think this is definitely our kind of like our marketing launch, where we're going full force ahead.
So what's the response been? And actually, you know what? I'm gonna pick on Niels here. So we've been around for a long time, and I'm sure, like me, that you thought as AI started to explode, thinking, okay, this is going to be interesting, and qual is going to be the low-hanging fruit, the place where we would see the most impact. And early versions, I mean, there were so many companies right out of the gate, doing this, and none of them were particularly good, right? They were, they helped show what was possible, but they left a lot to be desired from a kind of fit for purpose standpoint. Now, here we are, I think, in a different world. So what's your take as far as how the market's reacting? What's this been like for you as helping the company find product market fit and overcoming resistance? What's your take?
Yeah, well, lived it in a previous life, Lenny.
Well, sure, communities, yeah.
Communities, even just taking research online in the very early days, and I felt that there was much more resistance back then. I also felt that maybe back then it wasn't all working. Maybe we've learned a lot. I don't know. But what, I was skeptical, to be honest, when I first met these guys. I had a lot of questions as a research geek, and how you do this and how you do that and how you do. But I'm amazed by the product and by the way it's designed. Not to say anything bad, but just about our approach. Ours is really designed based on a natural conversation, and you can feel that, and that's why it's really qualitative in nature. And my sense is that, as I referred to earlier, is that this transformation is huge. It's really massive, and it's going to put a lot of paradigms upside down. Qual and quant are going to mash up. I actually wrote a piece about that at SMR 8 or 10 years ago. But to be honest, back then I wasn't like really sure how it would work and if I really believed what I wrote. But now what I see, it's amazing. And the market response from clients is very, very positive. They do accept, of course, that there's still things to be developed, and the more you have, the more features add on to it. You know how that goes. But clients are amazed by the speed, the agility, the quality of the moderation, which is really an experience attribute. You have to do it before you can really believe it. We can say it does it, but it's really these guys, the prompts that have been programmed are amazing. And then, obviously that creates much depth in terms of, at scale and the speed and the reduction in costs. So that's one thing. The other thing is that part of the market is obviously who does the interviews, the consumers, the people. And we've done, we've done satisfaction about the interviewer, and it's consistently 90+% that rates at a 4 out of a 5 scale or more. We have some 3s here and there, which then have referred to a tech type of issue, or people are not really accustomed yet to the format. But overall, people feel very comfortable talking to the agent, and even about sensitive topics like politics or socioeconomic problems or things like that. So I'm amazed by it.
So I've not seen the product demo, which we should probably do that at some point soon. So last I saw, it was a text prompt a few months back. So is the moderator still primarily text, or have you layered in voice, or are we there where we have a photorealistic avatar?
So right now you can still read the text, because especially for people who might not have the best surrounding, not the quietest environment, but you also have a voice that reads out the text for you. Okay. We did some testing with avatars, but at least for right now, given that the interview is really free-flowing, so the agent really picks into what you're saying in real time, and that's where we did notice that it's not quite there yet to really have a natural-looking conversation, and people tend to be very prone to detecting if something is a little bit off in talking to an AI avatar. So maybe at one point, definitely on our radar, but for now we're just focusing on making a good auditory experience.
And the question is, Lenny, I'm an innovator, but I always think about what's the relevance of it.
True.
And so with an avatar still today, what would be the added value really to have the avatar other than mimicking a human conversation? But do we need that? Question mark. So we'll see.
Well, and I think there's still the whole uncanny valley
Exactly.
aspect of things. I mean, as amazing as some of the visual elements in AI generated content can be, it's still like, well, that's fake. We have to stop and look at it a little bit. So yes, in a couple of years that it may be radically different, but I think that's very smart to not muddy the waters with the uncanny valley aspect of things. So all right, you're coming out party, you got the seed round, you got some money to spend, you got cool people working with you like Niels. You're coming to the US to be at multiple events. What's the next year look like for you? What do you hope to accomplish What are the goals that you've really put in place to say, hey, if we can do this, besides just obviously landing contracts? I know that's a piece of things, but what else? What are the kind of the strategic goals that you have in place for the next 12 months?
I think big focus for us right now is hiring. So we're actually a pretty small team. We're only 6, and obviously, 6 people isn't that much given all the stuff we want to do. So we're looking to hire at least another 10, probably ending the year at about 15 to 20 people. And I think our main focus is just really increasing talent density, just finding the best people for each position. It's going to take a lot of effort and time, but I think that's the highest leverage point strategically for us to do that right now. Secondly, I think I come from a background in edtech where I would talk to 10 customers and they would give me 10 different requests on what to build. I think if you talk to our customers, it's actually quite interesting to see commonality into like what they're asking for. So one of the things, for example, is like uploading of data. So right now, Conveo is a platform that's interviewing, getting all this information synthesized to the researcher, but then they obviously also have previous studies that they've created. And that's going to be one of the big focus points for us as well strategically, to really become a holistic platform that incorporates new and existing research. Anything to add for you, sir?
Multimodal?
Multimodal, yeah, that would be a big one.
Multimodal AI. So now the agent is fairly adaptive, and yes, it's like a karaoke screen with a text and a voiceover. That's how I compare it, and does it very, very well and very adaptively. You can flip the camera, so there we go to observational research, but everything is still based on the voice. So if people don't say, hey, I've got Heinz ketchup in my fridge, you won't pick it up. The multimodal AI will be able to recognize objects, and if people show their fridge, they're going to be, the agent is going to be able to say, oh, there's a bottle of ketchup and it's a Heinz ketchup. Or there's Hellmann's mayonnaise, or there's no Tabasco or spicy sauce or anything like that. I think that's the next step in 2 waves even. So let's say post-interview where you've got the transcript and then you have the AI analyze the video. But then, and this is for me where another big wave of transformation is going to be for ethnographical observational research, is that it's going to be able to do that live and say, oh, Lenny, I see you have Heinz ketchup. Why is that? And you're like, that's going to be another uncanny valley, by the way. Like this is going to be confrontational for people that an agent, a computer technology recognizes what people are showing. But it's definitely something that we're working on, which is gonna open up a lot of potential use cases.
Okay, so the plan is that it will be at scale but individually adaptive, based upon not just, I'm sure already, but based on responses, but through other stimuli that are analyzing as well. So what are we going to call that? We're going to call that macro IDIs.
I've been trying to come up with a new word for quali-quant, and observation is a 3rd dimension on it. So, but maybe we should do a brainstorm, or maybe it's a topic for IAX, or
maybe. I mean, we already tackled the thing of, are we market research or are we insights and analytics? And we had, Green Book, we said, all right, we're insights and analytics because it's just too damn big. But yes, it's interesting. We are bringing up whole new and quali-quant, just that's clumsy. So all at scale, that's clumsy.
We had MROCs too, right? So
yes, right. MROCs, communities, the whole shebang. But that's the exciting part, right? We're defining whole new categories. Now, that said, my opinion, and you guys tell me whether you agree with this or not, is that what we really are in the era of is process disruption. So the components, and we still need to know what is the right business question, what's the right way to get the information to answer the business question, which is all that process stuff, which the bulk of the industry is defined by, truly, and then the making sense of that. And those two, that beginning and end, that tends to be more consultative, and the middle is just more kind of field and tab. Dieter, you may know if you know that language, but Niels would.
Hmm.
But even in that middle piece where technology is creating so many efficiencies, there is still a service component that clients are still looking for. And I always use the example of Zappy, our friends at Zappy, right? They were the big automation, platform that, but they still often, clients wanted somebody to push the button, right? Even if if they could. So from a business model standpoint, where are you kind of, you just want to be the SaaS play? Or are you recognizing there needs to be some level of hand holding? Are you looking for partners to do the front or the back end, or you don't want to touch it at all? Kind of what you're thinking about that?
I think it's a good question. I think we see like two types of clients in a way. Some clients are fully self-serve. Literally, we just give them access and they do most of the stuff themselves. Other customers, I'd say that's where your team really helps them a lot to like really, help them be successful. And I often look at my job to like kind of take his brain and put it into the AI. And it's a lot of there.
Oh no, that's kind of scary. Niels and I've hung out a little bit. I got
It's
a
a lot
sense that
in
I
there.
don't know.
You don't want to put everything in there either. So that's
You and me both, buddy. You and me both. I'm sorry, dude. Go ahead.
But it's definitely really interesting to see, like, Niels would talk to customers and be like, hey, we really need to add this and this and this, or the AI needs to be better on that regard. And then we take that feedback, obviously, really, really to heart and just try and improve based on customer feedback. And obviously also the expertise of all those years of experience that's compounding into like giving us good feedback. But we're definitely, not there yet. But hopefully, if you can see where we're headed, we haven't even been around for a year. So, if you extrapolate, give it 3-4 more years, who knows where we end up.
Yeah, and on that note, both in the front and the back, the analytics and the design in the beginning. Already now there is a feature of, you put in your research objectives and you click on the button and it'll generate a topic guide. You'll be able to chat with that. You'll be able to edit it. You'll be able to play around with it. And so that's only going to improve. So the service level is going to go down. Now the service level is there because we still have to do, to assist clients and, say, don't click this button, or, the number of probes, for example, you can indicate that. You don't want to make, interviews too long or too repetitive. You want to use visual. So these are all tips and tricks that are in a way kind of, easy to AIify or make sure that, there's hints and tips and tricks that's automated.
Or even like your predictive techniques that you often employ.
Yeah.
Well, we would be like, okay, obviously my background isn't market research. So I'd be like, hey, do you like this product? Niels was like, yeah, obviously you shouldn't be asking people directly if they like it or not. You should be like using predictive techniques. So when we incorporate those techniques into the AI, so then, if it's creating a topic guide, it will take those learnings and create a bit more creative questions.
Yeah. That actually brings up an interesting thought that I had not thought about till right this minute. In general, of what about personas of the moderators, right? I mean, Niels, this as well. Somebody difference between B2B or healthcare or certainly cultural. I would imagine your clients would push you to say, is there especially with voice, do we have a female moderator? Is there a male moderator? Is there, different personas? Because we're talking about sensitive topics. That can get pretty complex pretty fast.
Yeah, there's some of that already. So the languages, so we've got American English, British English, different types of French and, Arabic and all of these. So that's one component. There's also a tone of voice that you can install. So for a B2B audience, you want it to be more neutral or business-like. And then you've got friendly and even humoristic, which the humoristic, I say to clients don't use it because it goes a little bit over the top. But so some of that you can definitely do that. There's also on the technology side different versions of languages.
Yep.
But I do think, Lenny, that's I think the tone of voice is a good one because we've done it. We've used Conveo with healthcare professionals, and obviously there you don't want it to be overly friendly. You want it to be neutral. Yep. and so. But other than that, I don't think that's at this moment. something that's really crucial to our clients. I think there's still a lot of other stuff to to include, and like the projective techniques or the quality of the moderation, or not. This is a big request which we have solved in the meantime, or perfected, I would say, is not to make the AI agent hallucinate or say things you don't want to be said about a brand. So if you try to do that, please do. Do try it. We'll see how far you go. But the AI agent's been made smart enough to stop the interview or go back on track, whatever, things like that. So those are things that are more important, I feel, than the creating the personas of the moderator right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Although I've been playing with creating a virtual Lenny, at least as just basically a writing aid. So and trained it off of my content, and it's better. It's better than I am, I think, overall in many ways. But that idea of training, kind of a personalized agent, if you would, and think about the broader implications of that down the road. So I hear you. I agree. No need to overly complicate things, but I do wonder if the ultimate expression of AI is ultra personification. If we get to that point somewhere down the road, just an interesting abstract concept, which we didn't have to think about this stuff until the past couple of years, did we? It was
Absolutely.
yeah. So I want to be conscious of your time as well as our listeners. Major lessons through all of this process, right? So Dieter, it's your second startup. Niels, you as well. You guys have been through this whole entrepreneurial journey before. Things that you've learned in general and things that you have learned specifically in this endeavor that think, hey, I'm going to pass this on to other folks in case it's helpful.
I think for me, one of the things I really learned more now, because we went through Y Combinator last year, and basically to summarize 3 months of Y Combinator into one sentence, it would be build something people want. And that is, I think, something that, at least at my previous company, was a lot of friction to talk to customers, especially in the B2C area. And so that's why I really like Conveo initially as an idea, because basically our mission is to bring that friction down to zero and make it so easy to get feedback straight from a customer, and use it in a frictionless way to make better decisions. And so I really think that by focusing on really understanding the customer really well and building something that they really have a problem with, that we can solve for them, and that really helps create a lot of value. And so that's something that we've definitely been doing right now. We've been doing all the partnerships with bigger companies over the last year. That's why we've kind of been into stealth mode, more or less, because we really wanted to perfect what we've been building, focusing on really understanding their problems and how can we best solve them before we go and scale. And I'd say right now we're ready to scale.
Yeah, I agree with that. And maybe one other thing, which we're talking about AI and technology. And my firm belief is you won't be beaten by AI, but you will be beaten by people who use AI. So the human aspect is, for Conveo, super important. We're not only using AI to interview real people, but it's all about the people. And when I look at the team, however small, and when I look at, I met Dieter and Hendrik before the summer, and the speed at which it has accelerated, and both on the business side as well as on the product side, that's because you have really good talent. So my thing is also that is about people, and don't compromise on that, and make sure that, because that creates an atmosphere of working hard, but also have fun down the road, and you need to be intrinsically motivated and passionate to build the best product too. So it's human driven and talent driven. So that's another, for me, confirmed, because I had that. I was convinced already, but I've been shown it again.
Sure. Well, on that note, you mentioned it before, but kind of pitch to anybody looking for a gig. What roles are you looking for right now?
So we're looking for all of people in the sales side, commercially, head of sales, account executives, customer success, head of marketing, head of events, geo staff, founders associate, full stack engineer. We have a few positions of those open. Mostly looking for the area of Belgium for more of the engineering type of positions, and the other ones we're looking open for New York or London. So kind of coming back and forth which of the two it will be. But right now we're definitely going to one of those two areas.
Okay. And how can people reach you to be able to throw their hat in the ring?
Sure. So if you go to conveo.ai, in the navigation bar, you should see a careers tab. If you click on it, you will go to the website of Y Combinator, and you will see all of our open jobs. You can just drop us a note there, upload your resume, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Okay.
Or if people see it as a conference or our exhibitions, they can always come up to us and talk to us. That's even more straight, of course. So.
Even better.
Even better. They get that in-person interview right out of the gate, right? So, guys, is there anything that you wanted to touch on that we have not?
I think this was good.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, think so.
Okay. Well, congratulations. Again, obviously, we already had a relationship, so I'm glad to see that happening on a personal level. But a rising tide floats all boats. And, I think that the next wave of innovators, you're part of that, and that's going to drive the industry forward. So for our listeners, that's why we do this. So you guys have a sense of what's happening maybe behind the scenes, to push the industry forward. So best of luck. And I guess that's it, unless you have anything else to say. Any final words?
All good.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Lenny.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Want to give a shout out to our producer, our sponsors, our editors, and most of all to our audience. Without you, we wouldn't have had this excuse to talk. That's it for this edition of the CEO series. Everybody be well. Bye-bye.
Cheers.